the Minnesota Wild are the best team in the NHL right now. All right, they may not be the best team in the NHL, but they sure as shit are one of them. And we're going to talk about them today because they cannot be ignored anymore. I used to laugh at the Minnesota Wild. Now they're laughing at me. Welcome back to the channel. Yup, today we're going to talk about the Minnesota Wild. They're off to an impressive start, to say the least. I didn't expect the Minnesota Wild to look this good this early, but if you look at their roster and look at the moves they've made, the writing's kind of been on the wall. And I can admit, I've been ignoring it, but we can't do it anymore. So we're going to talk about them today and talk about their impressive start today. So yeah, let's jump over and talk a little bit about what they got going on over there in Minnesota. Right now, they are currently second in the Central Division. They got Winnipeg, the undefeated Winnipeg Jets. There's no real shocker there. I will talk about Winnipeg at some point. But Minnesota only 2 points behind, one game behind the Winnipeg Jets, and the Jets almost got their first loss the other night to the Kraken. So, but looking at their division right now, you would think it's not impossible to walk away in this division. Yeah, it's tough. It's a little bit tougher. But look at what's going on. We got the Jets, the Wild, the Stars, the Blues, the Utah Hockey Club, Colorado Avalanche, being the most shocking one of all these teams, Chicago, and then Nashville. Well, I will say we can say the Predators as well. This division is stacked. And right now, the Minnesota Wild have a gift. They have games in hand on both the Predators and the Avalanche. Two teams that are on paper projected to go deep into the playoffs if they catch up. Colorado's been playing better. They're now 4-4, so they're at 500. So they've hit their resets. Can they stick with it? Their goaltending situation. That's a topic for a different video. Anyways, St. Louis has looked hot coming out of the gate as well. Minnesota has a win over St. Louis. St. Louis now has an injury, Robert Thomas. Who knows how that's going to affect them? I could say it could have a little bit of effect. We'll see how that plays out. Then the Dallas Stars right behind the Wild, pretty much neck and neck. We know what Dallas is capable of. And then you have the Wild and then the Jets. So right now, everything is looking in favor of the Jets. They just really can't afford to let little things slip past them. Little games or games that they have in hand, they need to finish them. We're going to talk about some stats because one of them is really important and we're going to talk about. So let's pull them up really quick. Like I said, your Wild are 5-0-2 with 12 points. You got wins against Columbus, St. Louis, Columbus again, and the two big recent ones, Florida and Tampa. Those two teams are nothing to scoff at. Losses to Seattle in a shootout, and then to Winnipeg in overtime. Again, there's that Winnipeg team right there. Your point leaders, no surprise here. Kirill Kaprizov. I don't want to jump too ahead of myself, but he's giving me Panarin-like vibes right now. If he gets hot and can stay hot, if that first line can stay hot, Minnesota is playing with some gas. That's just the truth of the matter. Their second line is not too far behind, but then again, the season just started. So I don't want to invest too heavy into predictions at the moment. But the first and second line, top six, they're getting the job done. Your time on ice leader, Brock Faber. Bill Guerin is doing an amazing job for you guys. I hope you guys are appreciating the job Bill Guerin is doing for you guys. He turned what was, I would consider, a laughing stock to some degree in the league, and has turned this thing around. It's like I said, it's been slow, but it's been uphill. And locking up key pieces like Faber this early on in his career. What do you get? 8 years? I don't remember the number off the top of my head, but that's for a player who was considered a Calder finalist. You cannot complain about that whatsoever. And then once Zeev Buium gets up to speed and he gets the call, that back six is going to look pretty intense. It's going to look pretty unstoppable. I mean, I have big expectations for Minnesota going forward. This is just, I think, the first like real glance of like what this team could be in the future. The state of hockey finally has a hockey team they can be proud of. At least that's how I feel about it. Then you have the last line of defense in the goaltending. Philip Gustafsson, 1.4 goals average against. Pretty good. 0.952 save percentage. Pretty good. Right now, he's second in the league in goaltending. I can't off the top of my head remember who's in front of him. But Gustafsson is playing like the team in front of him deserves a go playing goaltender. Like, he's playing extremely well. Let's move on. The one stat that I had to bring up, that which made me pull these slides up to begin with, was if you look at their games, in all their games, they've scored first. In 5 of those games, they've won. Let's pull back up. Where'd it go? Here it is. There it is. They've won 5 out of the 7 that they've played. If you play Minnesota, you better hope to score first. Because right now, if they get on the board first, it's pretty much a done deal because they start running away with things. I think the stat I saw, I think they had won 4 or 5 of the games pretty much like in the first 2 periods. So that should tell you something. And look at who they played. Like, they're not slouch teams. I wanted to say Columbus was kind of a slouch, but you know, because of what they're dealing with this year, but they're not playing bad whatsoever. St. Louis, we saw how they played against, and then like I said, Florida and Tampa. Florida, Stanley Cup champs. They did it on the road. They got Bobrovsky pulled because they scored 4 or 5 goals on like the first 18 shots. Like, Bobrovsky's not a bad goalie whatsoever. Granted, Florida was missing their captain, but regardless, I don't think that's going to have much of a difference on the game. Like, that's a big win for Minnesota. And then to play Tampa and work Tampa like they did. I've been impressed as hell by Tampa. Even their first line as well. Like, and they played against Vasilevsky. Like, these are 2 Russian goalies that could easily be in net if Russia had a team come this 4 Nations tournament. That I think it's kind of neck and neck. Minnesota is kind of silently running through the league right now, and it's time they get their props. Power play ranked 5th in the NHL right now, 7 for 22, 31.8%. Let's call it 32%. Again, still early in the season. The first power play unit is looking pretty mean. PK ranked 20th, 3 for 13, 76.9%. Let's call it 77%. Again, still early in the league. I'm not going to read too much into those numbers just yet. I just like the lineup for the PP1 unit. Okay, your next 5 games. Actually, let's get rid of this slide real quick. Let's pull something else up here. Let's go look at your schedule really quick. next 5 games. Philadelphia on the road tomorrow or today, depending on when you're watching this. Then you have Pittsburgh at Pittsburgh. Philadelphia hasn't been playing great, even though they do have a nice little squad over there. They surpassed expectations last year. I don't think they're going to do that this year, but who knows? You never know. Then you have Pittsburgh, who just lost tonight on, was it the 29th? So that's what, Tuesday? Yeah, Tuesday. That's going to be a good test for you guys as well. And then we're going to go into November. You got Tampa again at home. Then you have Toronto at home. LA at home. 3 games that are going to be the next real big test for the Minnesota Wild. Tampa, this one I'm putting on my calendar. I'm making time to watch this one for sure. Toronto. You never know what you get with Toronto. It's just, we know this, okay? You never know what you're going to get. You could get an all-star team, or you could just walk them. Either way, I believe in the Wild at this moment in time. Then LA. Same thing with LA. You never know what you're going to get with LA at this point. And then you come to my San Jose Sharks. And then you go to Anaheim. Both these teams, my teaming, my team for sure is rebuilding right now. You could walk the Sharks. You could walk the Ducks. So out of these next 5 games, let's just say 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not going to give you Tampa just yet. I can say I can see you doing it. And then who was it? Pitt in Philadelphia. Let's say one of the two. So let's say the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I didn't even get to Chicago. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 8 games. Hypothetically, you could go 6-2. You could go 6-2 really easily with this squad and be up. Well, that would be 11-4. You guys would be sitting pretty, real pretty. And that's just the first, week and a couple days in November. So right now, it's really important for the Wild to get on their horse because of the lead they have in their division against Colorado, against Nashville. They're right behind Winnipeg. Going back, the Stars. I haven't looked at the Stars yet, but the Stars are right there. They're right at your heels. Get some distance between St. Louis. Keep that distance between Colorado and Nashville. And yeah, I could see the Wild getting that playoff spot. Not so much relying on that wild card spot, but they could walk away with the spot here. Let's just see how they play things out going into this next month, because I think it's going to be a real good one. They always say American Thanksgiving is going to really tell you how teams are looking. I just told you the first week and a half of how Minnesota could look going in to Thanksgiving. We'll see how things play out. Let's take a look at some of these lines and how they're performing right now, because it's pretty good. All right. The first line: Kaprizov, Rossi, Old Man Zook, ex-Shark, Jake Middleton, and Brock Faber. Pretty impressive for the top line. So far, out of 7 games, 12 goals, 24 assists, 36 points from these players combined. Yeah, that's a top line that I don't want to face right now, especially the work they just put on Tampa. They made that look easy, including Florida. Let's not forget about Florida. Get off me, Kyrou. Get off him. Let's look at the second line. Second line is Marcus Johansson, Joel Eriksson Ek, Matt Boldy, who's having a great start to his years so far as well, Jonas Brodin, Zach Bogosian. Bogo, the shieldless man. Well, one of the shieldless men in the league now. Second line, 8 goals, 13 assists, 21 points. Again, there's a gap there between the first and second line, but this is the bottom 3, bottom 8, or not bottom 8, bottom 5, I should say, looking pretty reliable. You know, I haven't looked at your third line performance or your fourth line performance, but the top 2, they're getting the job done already. Like, again, once you guys find more scoring up and down your lineup, and if these 2 lines can stay consistent, holy hell, Minnesota could look dangerous. And we didn't even get to the power play yet. The power play. Matt Zuccarello, Joel Eriksson-Ek, Kaprizov, Brock Faber, Matt Boldy. 4 offensive players, 1 defensive player. Yeah, that's the trend in the league right now. But hey, if it works, it works. This thing is beautiful. Power play 1, 5 goals, 10 assists, 18 points from these players combined. Out of 7 games, that is what? A little below at least 1 goal a game. That is pretty impressive for a team that I didn't have playing this well so far. Pretty good. Pretty good. Yeah, man, Minnesota, you guys have got a squad. Like a real one. If I'm you, I would be juiced. Extremely juiced right now. Do me a favor, man. If you're a Minnesota Wild fan, tell me I'm not wrong. Tell me I'm not smoking something that I shouldn't be smoking. I'm in a legal state, by the way, so if that has anything to do with it. But your Wild are pretty impressive. Do me a solid. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. I'm going to be following the Wild a lot more. I'm going to pay attention to them a lot more closer, let's put it that way. Because these numbers are impressive for a team that is kind of flying under the radar. You're kind of underdog right now. I know Bill Guerin's loving it. I know the boys on the bench are loving it. I hope you fans are loving it. I think it was Ken Danico, I think tonight's play caller for the Devils and Islanders game. He was even poking fun at Bill Guerin, his old teammate, saying that, man, he was wondering where this goal scoring was coming from the Minnesota Wild. He's got a lot of people are feeling that way right now. But you know what? I've been on that side. And back in the day when my Sharks were a good team and we weren't expected to be good. I know that feeling. Ride the wave, boys. Ride the wave. This should be a fun next 2 weeks. I'm getting out of here. Again, do me a favor, hit that like button. And I'll catch you guys after the next push of games you guys have. And when you guys take that first place in that Central Division. You guys be good. Peace out, homies.